Hi, I'm Michael Ullman, owner of Ullman Precision Products, and checkering is sometimes referred to as your last best chance to really screw up a perfectly good gun stock. So let's go over the process of checkering and avoid that, learn how to make a really professional looking checkering job from the start. So we're going to do 3 videos. We're going to divide them into layout, laying out your lines and deepening them, and then the final touches to get the borders and edges all right. So this is the first video on layout. And so the most important thing, let's talk about really quick, is having good lighting, just some good overhead lighting, maybe a little light here that we can get some real focus on, but you've got to be able to see what you're doing. We need to know where our lines start, where they stop, and we don't want to have any issues with shadows or anything like that. So good lighting is super key. Next, I personally draw on the stock. I have never used a template where I draw it out on a piece of paper and then put it down on the stock. It's just not how I've ever done it. I kind of like to draw. Sometimes the stock will maybe talk to you, if you will, and it'll let you know where it kind of wants to bend and flow and where the grip curves are and everything. And so it just helps for me to flow it all together if I draw directly on the stock. So let's talk about what we've got going on here. All right, so this side is laid out. I drew roughly on the other side. I've erased it all for now because I'm going to put permanent lines in, but this is the first side. I always start on the cheek piece side on the wrist because I want to make sure that I don't do something silly on this side that now has an interference with the cheek piece. So I always start on this side. We are using 3.5 to 1 diamonds in this case. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the top center. In this case, we're doing 2 panels, so we need to find the top center and then the bottom center. The center line runs through the middle of this tape, and then I've already cut the edge. This will be the border on here. So I've already cut it in with a knife. I haven't cut it in with the cutter yet, but it is roughed out, and you can see here I've gone ahead and scratched that in. So that's kind of all roughed in. Then we figure out our master lines. We need to know where they start. Like this master line is going to start here. It's going to end here. This master line here and here. So we lay those out. Just get a layout template. 3.5 to 1 diamonds. We're going to put those in there. So we need to know a few things. Also where this is. So we're going to start here, and then I just drew in here and drew along this line, and then I carried them through. And then I cut them in. These are cut with a 90-degree cutter, so we just form those in there. This is going to be 24 lines to the inch with the 90-degree diamonds, so we just use a 90-degree cutter to begin with. The borders I do at 75 degrees. It gives a little bit narrower, cleaner look, and if you do mess up, you can go back and clean it up with a 90-degree cutter. So it gives you a little bit of fudge factor in there. So it's important now that when you begin this, that we want layout. So from the stock making portion to begin with, we want to have good symmetry. You know, from the center line here and the center line here, we want these distances to be the same. We want the curves to be well done. So you constantly want to look at that. If you're checkering somebody else's stock and they are a little off, it's another great reason to be drawn on the stock, because you can compensate from the very beginning if they're a little off for what they've done. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to figure out, we need to make this line here the same on this side here. So even though you can't see all of it when you look at it directly over the top or from the underside, we do want them to be symmetrical because it'll help all of our points line up. So the way to do that is, once you've drawn it in and cut it, you've probably learned this in kindergarten. Lay this down, and with the side of your pencil, just come in here, and you'll see that the line is starting to show. Okay, just take a pair of scissors and we're going to cut along that edge. There it is. You flip it in reverse. And lay that down. And now what we have, you can see, we'll trace it. We'll draw it in there and then trace it, but you'll see from the top that that's going to give us the same angle and the same radius and shape that we've done. All right, so I'll do that. We'll be back in just a minute and I'll show you how we've got each side laid out equally. Okay, so the master lines are not laid out on this side, but I wanted to just show you really quick. So here's the tracing I did. This piece of paper is the tracing I did, and I cut it out, you know, from this side. And it's on here. It's just kind of taped in place, you can see. And from the top view is kind of what we're looking at to see that it looks right, which it does. And sorry, it's hard to tell probably because the camera's shaky, but so we're good to go there. And then all we're going to do is, I've actually drawn it. You can see the little line there. I've drawn it, and then I come in with a little knife, and I'm just going to cut. I've actually already done it, so just come in there and right along that edge, we're going to roll that, and then when we peel all this back, we're going to have a line. Get rid of the pencil line. You can see just that fine little line there. It lines that up. So we'll cut that a little deeper, and then we can get our master lines in now that we have an ending point for them. Okay, so the other side of the stock is now laid out. That's this side here. And what we've done is I've gone ahead and measured everything, kind of double, triple checked it. So if we start from this point there, which is on the center line where the lines are going to meet, we can measure just in a straight line. We can measure from there to there, and you know, we could measure from there to there. You can see it's kind of about 2 inches each way. You can measure from here to here to make sure that's okay. We can measure from here to this point, making sure that that's correct. We measure the same distance there. We want all of those to, again, to be the same. You measure over there. Same from here to this point, here to this point. We can also use a pair of dial calipers, and you can kind of come in and say, okay, so this one from the center is there. Is that correct? You know, if I come in here, yeah, so those are lined up pretty good. And so then after those are done, then I go ahead and I scratch the line in. After I've gone over it again and again, we want to make sure that the distance from here to here is also the same. And that again gets back to stock symmetry when you start the stock to begin with. So that's there. This is now cut in. I've left the tape in, but I'll pull this out. I've cut that in just really quick just to show you. We use I use a type 3 cutter that we manufacture here because you can see how it gives me plenty of clearance over the bottom of the rip where the grip cap would be, and so we cut all of that. This is I use a 3/16 inch cutter there, and then here I just use our little tiny 3/32, same deal, a number 3, so it gets over the grip cap area, and come in here and cut that, and just kind of lightly come in there and take care of that. Okay, let's go up to the forearm because I'm just about ready to put in the master lines in the forearm. And I want to show you, I was going to put them in and I thought, no, I'll show you what I do beforehand. So this is drawn on there, and everything, the points kind of where it's going to be are in place. The master lines are not scribed in, but I wanted to show you really quick how I do it. So there are some tiny little points that are right here. And right up here, that's one line. There's one here, you can see right there. And then there's one down here. It's right there. I'll be honest with you, I buggered it a little bit. I was a little off. It took me, I misfigured where I was. And so I've got to remember which one to use. So I have measured from those points again. We measure each side. I use the line on the barrel channel line and come down to it. you can see that line is 1.25 inches to the point. If you come here, you measure there. Again, we're 1.25 inches to the point. Okay? So, once we get all that done, what I have is an old dental tool that I use, that I reground. And I put the tip of it in there, contort my fingers, find my point down here, come back up, definitely gonna have to edit this out. Okay, so that took a little bit longer than we want, but here we go. So we've got our lines there. If you come down here, you can see there's a little yellow mark, and also the scribe's going to catch right in that little knot, that little bump that I've put in there, so that's going to help me stop it. And we're going to come in here, find that line, and here we go. Just run this old dental tool that I've scribed along here. Scribe it, and boom, it drops right into place. We'll do this back half here since I have to rotate the stock. I make a few passes with it. One more for good measure. Come up here. Okay, so that's how I put the master line in. If I remove the pencil mark that I had in there, you can see the master line is in. We'll go ahead and do the other one, and then we'll be ready to start the next video about laying out lines. Thanks.